Hello children, welcome to your English literature class. In today's class, we are going to study a very famous story which is an extract from novel Robinson Crusoe. Alright, so now let's start. Robinson Crusoe is the name of a book by Daniel Defoe. Daniel Defoe was born in 1660. His father was a butcher and Daniel Defoe worked at a number of trades before he started to write at the age of 40. He wrote poems and occasionally wrote criticisms of the government. Sometimes he was sent to prison. When he was nearly 60, he wrote the story of Robinson Crusoe. It was a great success and has been popular with children ever since. It is the first great English novel. In this short piece from the book, Robinson Crusoe tells us how he became shipwrecked. In this story, you will know that how because of the tornado and hurricane, he was without ship, how he survived, he reached on an island and how he survived there. So let's start. We started off on our voyage in good weather, although it was very hot. After about 12 days, however, a violent tornado came from the north. The waves rose high, the skies were black, and the wind howled through the sails. Two members of the crew were washed overboard, and after a day or two, the ship began to leak. We changed our course and drove out of the hurricane, but the next day a second terrible storm attacked us. We could see the shore of some unknown land, but the sea was very rough. The rain dashed down and we were afraid to approach close to the land. Our only hope was to clamber into a small boat and try to row to the shore. Four of us managed to get the boat into the sea and we jumped into it. We rowed with all our might, but the waves were like mountains. So, now let's start the explanation. Here, the sailor Robinson Crusoe, the main character of the story, is telling his full incident, what happened with him as he started his journey. Alright, voyage means long journey by sea. First, I'll tell you the difficult meanings, children, and then I will tell you the explanation. We'll do the explanation. So, voyage means a long journey by sea. Alright, then violent. Violent means very strong, something very strong which is impossible to control. Which is impossible to control. Alright. Now, can you see this picture? In this picture, in this slide, there are two pictures. One is tornado and one is hurricane. Alright, so the difference between, they both are violent storm. The difference between the two is that tornado is formed on land and hurricane is formed over water. Alright, so tornado is a storm with very strong wind that blows in a circle. You can see in the picture the circular formation, and tornado is formed on land. Hurricane, a violent storm with strong wind formed over water. Alright, hurricane is violent wind which is formed over water. Alright. Now I'll do the explanation, children. Robinson Crusoe is saying that when he started his journey after 12 days, in the starting it was very hot. Alright, in the starting it was very hot. But after 12 days, a violent tornado came from the north direction. And because of that, the water waves rose high. The level of the water waves rose high. The skies were black, means covered with clouds, and the wind howled. Howled means loud sound. Howled means loud sound through the sails. What is sails, children? A large piece of canvas cloth that is fixed onto a ship or a boat to help the ship move with the help of the direction. In the picture you can see here, see that board which is behind the waves. It has sails, the piece of canvas cloth which helps the ship or a boat to move according to the direction of the wind. Alright, so the wind howled through the sails, means loud sound of the wind was coming through the sails. Two members of the crew, crew means people who work on ship. Two members of the crew were washed overboard. Washed overboard means they were thrown from the ship. They were thrown from the ship, and after a day or two, the ship began to leak because of the tornado and the high water waves. The ship got many cracks or maybe some holes, and because of that, it started leaking. Leaking means something. Leaking means to allow liquid go through a hole or a crack. We changed our course. Here, course, course means the way, path. There is one more course now, your syllabus, but here in this chapter, the course, the meaning of course is the way, the direction, the path they were going. We changed our course means because of the tornado, the hurricane, they changed their way and drove out of the hurricane, and they tried to come out of that hurricane. But the next day, a second terrible storm attacked us. But the bad luck that again the next day, a second terrible storm came and they were stuck with that. We could see the shore of some unknown land. What is shore? Shore means, you have read about Shishona, means edge of a sea, the land near the sea. Of unknown land, of some unknown land, but the sea was very rough. Rough means the water was not quiet and calm. The sea had big waves, high waves. All right, so that's why the sea was very rough. The rain dashed down. Rain dashed down means it was raining heavily. Cats and dogs. Raining cats and dogs means raining heavily. And we were afraid to approach. Approach means to go towards something. They were trying. They were wanting to go to the seashore, but they were not able. They were afraid to go there, close to the land. Our only hope was to clamber. Clamber means to climb into a small boat. Beta, when big ships or boats, when they go for a voyage, they also have a small boat for emergency. So they were trying to climb that emergency boat, but they were not able to. Our only hope, so that's why he's saying, our only hope was to clamber into a small boat and try to row the shore. And later on, 4 of us managed to get the boat, and their hard work gave them the result. And at last, they managed to get the boat into the sea, and we jumped into it. So from the ship, they jumped into that small boat. We rowed with all our might. Might means efforts. Might means efforts. But the waves were like mountains. They were trying to go across that, but the waves were too high as mountains. The waves were too high as mountains. We struggled on, but at last a gigantic wave, gigantic means huge, very big, greater than all the others, hurled our little boat into the air, and it sank beneath us. Hurled means to throw something with force. Hurl means to throw something with force. So their small boat was thrown by the gigantic waves. All right, and their boat in front of them only, their boat was hurled into the air, and it sank to a lower position, means it went under the sea level. I am a good sailor, and for an hour, I am a good swimmer, and for an hour a half I battled in that stormy sea. As I caught sight of the coast, a huge wave would lift me up and carry me out to the sea again. Again and again I tried to reach the shore. Again and again I was thrown away by the raging sea. At last I was hurled towards the shore and fell down exhausted on the sand. Now here Robinson Crusoe is saying that he was a good sailor, he was a good swimmer also, and for an hour and a half, means for 1.5 hours, he battled in that stormy sea to come out of that. Why he battled? To come out of that and reach to any of the land. As I caught sight, and while he was in the sea, he caught sight. Sight means came in his view. He saw a coast, a land, all right, a huge land. But suddenly what happened? He was just thinking that now I have seen, I'll try to go there. But immediately a huge wave lifted him up and carried me out of the sea again. Means lifted Robinson Crusoe, and again he was in the sea back. Again and again he was trying, and again the sea was throwing him back. At last I was hurled towards the shore and fell down exhausted on the sand. But at last because of his good luck, this time he was thrown on the seashore, and He was very tired and he was on the sand at last. The night was dark without a star in the sky, and I knew that lying on the sand would be dangerous. I crawled away from the sea as fast as I could and came to some bushes and trees. I didn't know what wild animals there would be in the forest, so I climbed up one of the trees and made myself comfortable between two great branches. There I slept the night as well as I could. Alright, so now in this paragraph, Robinson Crusoe is saying that he was thrown on the sand and he was very exhausted. And when he was thrown on the sand, it was night, a dark night without any star in the sky. And he was knowing that lying on the sand like that only would be dangerous, because this island would be filled with many wild animals also. So to save himself, what he did, he crawled away. Crawled, you all know na, crawling, walking like small babies on knees. So he crawled away from the sea as fast as he could and came to some bushes and trees nearby. I didn't know that what wild animals there would be in the forest. So he was afraid with the wild animals also. He was not sure, but still there might be chance. So what he did, he climbed one of the trees and made himself comfortable between two great branches. He thought that lying on the tree is safer than lying on the ground. And there only, as he was exhausted, so he felt asleep. Now calmly he slept.